Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm counting down the top 10 films of 2019. So this decade as a whole had a lot of ups and downs in its films, and this year did as well. We had a lot of great films, we had a lot of clunkers, and then of course we also had a lot of films that didn't quite meet our expectations. But this isn't about those bad films, this is about celebrating the best ones. So here is, without further ado, the top 10 best films of 2019. Number 10. Rocketman. Now, Rocketman, of course, is not a perfect film. If it was, it would be higher up on this list, but there were several things this movie did really well. I think the biggest thing that shocked me about this movie was the fact that it was more of like a musical than an actual biopic, but there was a lot of cool things that came along with the movie because of that. Plus, the music was great. It was just a lot of fun to watch, and I had a good time. Number 9. The Peanut Butter Falcon. This movie revolves around Zach Gottsagen's and Shia LaBeouf's personalities, and that's the best thing it could have done. They had great chemistry, and it was infectious how much fun they seemed to be having during this film. It's of course another film that wasn't perfect, but that was more than made up by the great performances by the two leads. And in the end, for me, it was a perfect feel-good movie of the year. Number 8. Stan and Ollie. A lot of people don't know about this movie or probably forgot about it already because it came out way at the beginning of the year. And usually when movies come out at the beginning of the year, it's a bad sign. But this was just genuinely a really good movie with great impressions of Laurel and Hardy. If you're a big Laurel and Hardy fan and you haven't seen this yet for whatever reason, you should definitely check it out. Number 7. Parasite. Parasite is probably the most unique and original film on this list. I pride myself on predicting where movies are going, and I had no idea what was happening in this film. And I mean that in a good way, not in a bad way. There's twists, there's turns, there's laughs, there's cringes. There's a lot of crazy things all going on right in this movie. And I think that it goes without saying that this list would be incomplete without it. Number 6. Ford versus Ferrari. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Christian Bale is the best actor working today, and Matt Damon is also great. And the CGI does hit and miss in some places, but there's nothing like watching these race sequences on the big screen. They were phenomenal. I can't think of another movie like it that I was watching and I felt like I was actually in the car with them. That was awesome. Number 5. Us. Jordan Peele has quickly risen up in my list of most interesting people in Hollywood. I don't care what his next project is, I am now interested in it. His past 2 films have both been great, and I can't wait to see whatever he does, no matter what it is. We already knew him to be a master of comedy, but he's proving himself to be a master of suspense as well. And it's not just a typical horror suspense movie, it's intelligent horror, and I love that. Number 4. Marriage Story. Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver perfectly portray 2 imperfect but very real characters. This movie is raw, it's real, it's genuine, and these 2 lead performances are amazing. If Johansson and Driver aren't at least nominated for Best Actor and Actress, then something's wrong here. They definitely deserve it. Number 3. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like I said with Peele earlier, Tarantino is another one of those directors that I don't care what the project is about, I'm going to watch it just because he's attached to it. And although this isn't the typical Tarantino style that we think of, he still meshes this idea and this plot and this story type as a slow burn with his style perfectly. Not to mention that DiCaprio and Pitt are both great and work together phenomenally. This honestly might be my favorite Pitt performance of all time. Number 2. Joker. For the first time since The Godfathers Part 1 and 2, we could have a second actor winning an Oscar for playing the same character. Like Brando and De Niro in The Godfathers, we now have Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. And I don't think it's fair to either one of them to compare and contrast them because they're both completely different, but they're both also great, amazing, and completely nuanced versions of the character. The movie does take heavy inspiration from several Scorsese films, but it does great with that inspiration. I don't necessarily view this film as a copycat movie, it's its own unique thing that borrowed several things but made something brand new and different. And it might not be good as either Taxi Driver or King of Comedy, but it did some things that it borrowed better than those movies did. Not everything, but some things. And when you're talking about 2 classics like that, that's saying a lot. And number 1, Jojo Rabbit. 2019 was in no way a great film year, but Scarlett Johansson had herself quite the year. From being in the highest grossing movie of all time to her Oscar-worthy performance in Marriage Story to finally being in the best film of the year. She did it all this year, and this film is just another cherry on top of that. This was the funniest movie I've seen in years, but on top of that was extremely artistic and beautiful to look at. This wasn't just your typical comedy or satire though, it had heart to it and was extremely well executed. They towed the line perfectly between comedy and drama and tragedy and art art and all of these different facets that were all moving pieces in this movie that all somehow came together perfectly. There wasn't a single bad acting performance throughout the film, the writing was genuinely funny and great, and it was just a completely original idea that I had never seen anything like before. You put all of that together and you end up with the best film of 2019. So that's my list. I hope you guys liked it, but of course I didn't actually see every movie that came out this year, and you guys also just might have a favorite movie that I've never seen or didn't like or whatever, so let me know in the comments below your favorite movies of this year, and if you're new here, please subscribe. Thanks guys, bye.